Epistrophe. What is epistrophe? Reversion, return. In the Neoplatonic threefold scheme of manifestation, a thing, or rather an intelligible entity, proceeds from itself to multiplicity and returns to itself, while its essential characteristic identity remains unchanged at the initial level. The three moments remaining, precession, and reversion are phases of a simple, continuous, and dynamic process that sometimes can be regarded as simultaneous, that infuses unity to diversity, causation and predication. It is essentially a metaphysical and logical relationship. Epistrophe is what the muse Mneme tries to tell you. For Mneme is recollection, is concentration. Recollection or concentration of what? When the intelligible entity returns to itself, self control, discipline, when it returns to itself, and the self is unchanged by the material world. Unchanged. Although the self is the one behind your eyes, manipulating everything and feeling everything, the one taking actions. When it's tired, let's say, or when it wakes up, I've had enough of this multiplicity. I'm going to return to the self, to the one, to the origin. So it practices concentration or epistrophe or theurgy or apotheosis. It realizes that it is not the body, the meat suit. So it comes back to the spiritual. It concentrates. It is unchangeable because it's never affected by, let's say, the intrusive thoughts. It's never affected by the dirtiness of the material world, you see. Never. It is unassailable, indestructible. The material world, and especially the carefully crafted personality over, the lifetime, right? It wants to convince you that it is the one in charge. The intrusive thoughts that you are always getting are the persona trying to influence you, to control you, but the self is uncontrollable. Yeah. The self doesn't need to be purified, doesn't need to be cleaned. Yeah. And when the self is, has had enough of this, whatever it is, it just returns to the self. From multiplicity, it returns to unity. And it says here, sometimes this process from one to the many may become simultaneous, or, you know, what it's trying to say, there's no beginning or end to this relationship, you know. Everything is simultaneous. So this may become confusing to the rigid mind that wishes to control everything, invents, measurements and whatever to try to control and manipulate everything. It doesn't happen like that. There's no past, present, or future. Everything is simultaneous. There's no, maths in natura naturans. It's just uh, like many people say, pressure mediation. Mathematics is a human concept. We came up with that, you know. So logically, if you were to use mathematics to try to explain the world, you will end up like the Pythagoreans. The Pythagoreans found out the secret of incommensurability. There's no really beginning or end. Like the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail, or from day to night, when dawn is appearing, it is uh, you know, uh, the Ouroboros eating its own tail. There's no beginning or end. It is this constant, that gives us the impression. Gives us the impression of time, but time doesn't exist. Anyway, I went on a sidetrack there. So epistrophe, the return, the reversion to the one, to the self, is the same as practicing theurgy or apophatism, or the process of neri neri, the process of de-objectification, the via negative, or the negative theology, is pointing to epistrophe, you see. But of course, and it's represented by the muse Meneme. But of course, this, is unconceivable for a lot of people, because most in this world are, under the illusion that the self is the psychophysical, the meat suit that they see in the mirror, composed of fears, anxieties, and desires, and excesses, and mental machinations. And you see, they're always trying to find a new way to experience the roller coaster. They never find peace. Um, they go from one extreme to the other, and that is purely materialistic. Purely materialistic. When you give the weak-minded, because not everybody understands the difference between the self and the ego. So these are the weak-minded. They just bend very easily. They have poor self-control, and they bend really easy to the desires, anxieties, and fears of the ego, the intrusive thoughts. For the self is capable of having genuine thought synthesis and generation, the self, but most are not even listening to the self. They are just listening to the ego. It's a very crucial distinction that has to be made. Self-control. If you are, for instance, with someone who has little self-control, they will use everybody around them as a bag of sand. They will always be punching them. If you have poor self-control, I don't want you around me. It's a liability. The reason why the society is in such a poor shape is because people have poor self-control. And this is contagious. Poor self-control. They bow down to the desires and anxieties of the ego very easily. It's very materialistic. The weak-minded, they are very easily polarized, convinced by publicity. They are very easily bamboozled around. Natural philosophy warns us, science warns us about making this distinction between the two selves and having self-control. So the extreme of zero self-control is what they call personality disorder, meaning the ego is out of control and the ego is chaotic, you know. So I think I'm gonna shut up now. Have a nice day.